Hi there, it's Anne Toohey here again from Room Junkie with a quick little video. Today I'm going to be talking about picking the perfect sofa. Last week I was actually out helping somebody pick sofas and I just noticed that lots of people seem to be struggling big time. We had gold and got two fabulous sofas, but my observation was that people were finding it hard to pick a sofa. So I thought, you know what, the sales are on. And there's lots of value to be had out there and lots of people are in the market for new sofas. So I thought I'll do a quick little video and share with you my top tips on picking the perfect sofa. And the first one is very simple. I honestly believe that size matters. And these are, I've actually got my notes written here down here beside me so I don't forget any. But my first one, size matters, and the perfect size in my experience is 40 inches deep, 60 inches long, 36 high and a 17-inch seat. So you'll find these on my blog anyway if you don't remember them. So the second thing that I would say to you, for God's sake, measure up. You can't just take a sofa home to try it out and then take it back if it's too big. So I believe that the most common mistake that people make is buying furniture and sofas that are far too big. And I think lots of you would put up your hand and say, you know what, I've done that. Showrooms are vast, they're so big, and you know, the ceilings are so high, and a modest looking sofa is actually ginormous and will take over your room. Who do I see there? Oh, Moriarty, my goodness, how are you? So the easiest way to measure up, believe it or not, is a very old-fashioned way, is to put down newspaper templates. Pick your sofa in the shops and you'll get the dimensions online, or the shop will give you the exact dimensions, and put down your newspapers. And it's as easy as that. Then you'll be able to see whether it's too big for the room. A lot of sofas are very wide, you know, the ones where you could almost sit on the sides. So in a smaller room, that's not going to work. You also need to measure your doors to make sure that you'll actually get the sofa in through the door. And if you live in an apartment, it's very important to measure the length of the sofa to be sure that you'll get it into your lift. So these are all things to remember, but honestly, the newspaper templates are great. I do it all the time and I encourage loads of people to do it. Okay, sorry, I had to put my reading glasses on to see that, but Facebook is just telling me that they're spreading the news that Room Junkie is live. So there are my first two tips. My third one is show off the legs. In a smaller room, and this is a real show house trick, if you have a sofa on legs, your eye is immediately drawn underneath the sofa. And it just creates this illusion of more floor space and a bigger room that you actually have. So that's a really, really good little tip, and do remember that one. If you've got average size ceilings, and many people do, if you've only got an 8-foot ceiling, well, what you can do is you can get a sofa with a lower back, and this immediately creates an illusion of having higher ceilings than you really have, and that's a clever little trick. Slip covers is my next tip. Don't discount them. As you know, I have 3 sons and 2 dogs, and one of my dogs is a big girl who sheds. And a long time ago, I bought sofas in Dublin with white, removable, pre-shrunk, washable covers. And many's a time they went into the washing machine because we spilled wine on them, or the kids spilled something on them, or coffee or orange juice, or you name it, and a bit of bleach and into the wash, and then put back on again while they're still damp so that they stretch out perfectly. And you couldn't believe how long white sofas could last. And I know that IKEA actually have white sofa covers, which, you know, are very inexpensive. So don't think that light is bad. The white doesn't fade, so it's actually, and it's very easily washed. So that's a little tip. And in a smaller room, lighter coloured sofas obviously make the room seem bigger as well. Well, I am talking about fabrics. You know, don't think just because you've got kids and pets that you have to have leather, because you don't. I'm not a great leather fan at all, to be honest. I much prefer even a chenille fabric that you can actually give a bit of a scrub to. But there's a Spanish fabric called Aquaclean, which is out there at the minute, and it's amazing, and you get it in all sorts of colours and tones and textures. But the beauty of it is that you can actually clean it with water. So if the kids put markers on the sofa, of course mine never did, or you've spilled some red wine on it, you can actually clean it off with water. So isn't technology amazing? That's actually pretty incredible. But slip covers are fantastic. They're hard enough to get. I think obviously they must be hard to make because they're just not as easily got, but do your research online. There are companies that will make them, and even if you've got an old sofa, you could have slip covers made to recover it. The other thing is, that leads me nicely on to, it doesn't have to be new. In one of our sitting rooms, I struggled to find the right sofas because one in particular needed to be a certain height because I was putting it against the window, and the other needed to be a certain length. And lo and behold, I found the sofas, the perfect sofas, in a charity shop. So I got them completely remodeled, repadded. I think they had ugly bun feet. I had skirts made, and they were completely and utterly transformed for very, very little money. So don't discount your charity shops, and always keep an eye out for things like that, because you might pick up something a little bit different. And I don't like things to be too matchy anyway. So keep your eyes open for a bargain in charity shops. Upholstery can be expensive if you pick a very expensive fabric, but if you're sensible and you pick something that's middle of the road, and Clark & Clark have some amazing upholstery fabrics at a very reasonable cost at the minute, and gorgeous colours. Now, what's next on my list? Think outside the box. Don't be afraid to put a round sofa or a round swivel chair in a square room. Things like this actually add a bit of interest, and they soften the edges too. It means everything's not all square and boxy and rectangular, and adds a wee bit of interest. Next on my list, the biggest rookie mistake that most people make. Picture your typical living room. It's a long, narrow room with a fireplace on the long wall. And what do most people do? They buy a long sofa to put opposite the fireplace, which just accentuates the fact that the room is long and narrow. So if you've got two-seater sofas and put them opposite each other. Hi Gavin, how are you? And Bernie, oh, this is lovely. It's a local club today. So in the long, narrow, skinny room, get two-seaters and put them opposite each other. And what that does is immediately it creates this visual illusion of a wider room. I was going to say a fatter room, a wider room, and it transforms the room completely. Okay, what else have I got? Keep things in proportion, yeah. And you know another thing, this is really important. You don't want your sofa to take over your room, and not in a good way. So it must be of absolutely the right proportion. And again, going back to the newspapers and measuring it, and measuring the height, and particularly measuring the depth, you'll be astonished if you walk around furniture showrooms, the variation in width of a sofa. And if you've got an enormous room, that's absolutely fine. I love those big squashy sofas where you can sit two people on the arms, but not every room's going to do that. And put that into a smaller room and you're going to have a disaster, a very expensive disaster. So keep it all in proportion, figure out the size of your room, and it's pretty easy to work out what's exactly going to work for you. And my last little tip for buying a sofa is keep it away from the walls. You don't have to have everything pushed up against the walls. So taking it into groups and taking it into the middle of the room actually you should try it in your own house. It creates a lovely, lovely effect, and it's much more sociable than having everything just rigidly pushed up against the wall because you think that's the way it should be. Now, they're my top 10 tips, and I've scribbled a few more things as well. One thing that I'm finding is if you can't find what you're looking for, thanks Gavin, that's great, that's brilliant that I can actually see you. There are companies here in Ireland and everywhere else where you can have a sofa custom made, and this might sound like it's terribly, terribly expensive. It's not. Recently I was designing an apartment in Dublin, in the heart of Dublin 4, a beautiful apartment but small. And I wanted to maximise the bed space, so in the living room I actually had a Monaghan-based company make a sofa bed for me. And if you're buying a sofa bed, you really must invest in the quality of the mechanism, because the cheaper ones will break, so they're an absolute waste of money. But this company made this up for me in the most beautiful Clark & Clark fabric. It was a lovely teal fabric with a very exotic name that I can't remember, but it was gorgeous. At a much cheaper price than even I would have thought it would come in at. So don't be afraid to have things custom made and shop around. And I think the secret of having something custom made and having something upholstered is actually in the fabric. You buy a well-priced fabric and you'll end up with a pretty well-priced product. So that's it. There are my 10 little tips for buying a sofa. So if you are in the market, you will find, I've written this as an article as well, so you will find it on my Facebook page, the Room Junkie Facebook page, or if you sign up to the newsletter, you'll always get tidbits like this every week anyway. So I can't believe tomorrow is Friday already. That week has just flown by. I hope you're doing something nice. We have a very special weekend planned. It's low key, it's family, but Neil and I will be married 30 years on Monday, which is unbelievable. Where did that time go? So I'm going to have a lovely weekend, and I hope you do too, and I'll see you very soon. Stay fabulous. Now I forget how to turn this off.